Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. As we continue on Jesus's longest message, we come to, for me, this really sweet spot in the Sermon on the Mount, because he uses examples of humans just being kind. And the Bible talks about how in a lot of ways, whenever we compare humanity to God, we pale in comparison because God is so good that we're not good at all compared to God. But relatively speaking, there are some incredibly kind human beings. Would you agree? And honestly, you're probably one of them. That of all the people I know in my life, most people are kind. Most people are considerate. Now, there are some that are really kind and really considerate and really patient, like so much more than the norm. But in general, most people I know are very kind people. Most people I know are very nice people. I'm probably sure that you watching this now, that you are one of those people. So if you knew that I really wanted a coffee tomorrow morning, you would probably go out of your way to say, oh, Steve really, really wants that coffee from Phil's, and we should go bring it to him. Right? And even if you don't do it, I'm sure it would at least cross your mind, right? Or if somebody's birthday is coming up and that's one of your friends, and there's some of you watching who I know have a birthday that's just about a week and a half, just about a week away. Like, I know some of us are thinking, what can we do for her, right? And so by nature, right, compared to God, we are fallen human beings. We're broken. We're not whole. We need Jesus to make us whole. That's what we're looking at in our talks about James. But at the same time, there's a goodness to us. Now this changed even more when I became a dad. All right, when I became a dad, oh my goodness, I have these two lives that have been entrusted to me, and while I can't give them everything, if I knew they wanted something, I would go out of my way to get it, even if they didn't really need it. If I knew that they would like it, right, then that would be something I would want to do. I mean, when my kids were growing up, we were overseas, so some of the options were limited in terms of what they could get that wasn't food, right? There was always little snacks, but besides that, there weren't very good small toys, little toys or things, but it would always be a Hot Wheels car for my son, and always be some type of hair clip or bracelet or girl accessory, jewelry, cheapy jewelry thing for my daughter. And if I'd walk by a store, that would be a thought. Oh, I want to get him a Hot Wheel. And which one doesn't he have yet? Or I want to get her a hair clip. What color does she really like right now? Or what style doesn't she have right now? So, as people, we are considerate of others, especially those who we love. We want to go out of our way to take care of those people. Would you agree? And I hope you would. I hope that your experience with people in general has been more positive than negative. And there's no perfect person. And of course, there have been negative moments we've all experienced at the hands of people that have caused deep pain and division, and still do, both on a personal note and on a communal note. And we see in our nation, in our world, still such great divisions and such great aspects of pain that are out there where people are indeed hurting. But I hope as well that there are people in your life who have loved you, who have cared for you, who you are able to care for and show love to as well. So in that sense, right? In that sense, you're pretty good. Right? I'm pretty good. And I want to put that in the context so we could understand what Jesus is saying in this part of Matthew chapter 7. He says this, I'm going to read from verse 9 through verse 12. It says this, which one of you, if your son asks for bread, would give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, would give him a snake? It's a rhetorical question because nobody would. Right? I mean, there are those videos that like Jimmy Kimmel Live or like different shows have done where you mess with your kids about their Halloween candy or about their Christmas presents, and it's sort of evil, but it's sort of funny too at the same time. And I'm glad I never was tempted to do that, and I'm glad it's never been done to me. Right? But at the same time, if my kids came up to me, and they said, Dad, I want this to eat. right? I would go out of my way to either make that or go buy that. Right? Sometimes, even though my daughter doesn't ask for it, I'll say, "Do you want to go get a cup of coffee?" Or "Do you want to go get a boba?" Right? So Jesus is saying, if somebody asks for bread or for fish, especially your child, you're not going to give them a rock. You're not going to give them a snake. You're not going to give them something that's not edible, that's not healthy, and that can actually be harmful to them. You wouldn't do that, right? So if you, then, though you are evil, right, and put this in the context of us comparing ourselves to Jesus, right, who's saying this, that if I was honest compared to Jesus, I am not good at all, right? And so Jesus says that, and if you know how to give good gifts to your children, which you do, that's the assumption as well Jesus is making, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So you love people in your life. You love your family, I hope. You love friends, right? You love coworkers or classmates, I hope. There's people in your life that you want to show goodness to in tangible ways. And if they came to you with a need, you would go out of your way to help them. That's how good you are. Now, God is so much better. So if he's so much better, how much more would he want to give good gifts to you? Now, sometimes there's a question of exactly how much we need or want those gifts and how much we get them. But if we're fair to God, I have so much. Right? I have a family who loves me and whom I'm able to love. I have a community. I have friends. I pretty much have my health. I have clothes to wear. I have a place to live. I have a job. I have hopes. I have dreams. And even if some of those were not there, or if some of those were damaged, I have God, right? So I have so much that's been given to me. God knows how to give good gifts. Then he says this, so in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. Because, right, if you go back to Jesus' example of asking for a bread or a fish and being the asker of someone else, you would want that bread or fish. So if you are in the position of asking and receiving, not the giving, but the asking and the receiving, you would always want the person listening to give to you, right? So do to others like you would want them do to you. This sums up the law and the prophets. You want to know really what all of the law from the Old Testament, the words of the prophets really are trying to sum up is these two things. God is good. And as we align our lives with him more, we are able to have the perspective of just how good life with God is, especially compared to life without God. And secondly, that we need to value people, that we need to go out of our way to treat people well, that we need to go out of our way to love others, that we need to do to others like we would want done to us. Could you imagine? Could you imagine how a presidential debate would go if the people debating on the stage or on TV were not on the offensive, attacking the other candidate, and even on the defensive, protecting themselves against the candidates, but actually were treating other people how they wanted to be treated? I had a friend who, he's younger, but he was going to vote for the first time this year. And he'd seen some of the debates we had this year that were so bad, right? So bad that they actually had to control the mics so people weren't speaking on top of each other in a disrespectful way. And he watched a debate, I think it was from the 60s, something like that, a long time ago. And in those debates, he was so shocked at how kind and respectful the candidates were towards one another, that they would even compliment the other candidate and say things like, that's a really good point. I actually agree with you on that, but I'd like to add this as well. And they would go back in a very respectful way. Could you imagine what a shock it would be to have something like that happen and have a mutual respect towards one another? Could you imagine what it would be like when we would go into work, when we mutually respect each other, when we go into the streets and we mutually respect each other, when we do to other people like we actually want done to us? no matter what those people do. The whole law and prophets, the whole heart of the Bible, and especially the Old Testament, as Jesus is talking at this point, is that God is good and he loves us. And so if we know how to give good gifts, God knows even more so. And second is, do to other people like you want done to yourself. I hope that that could be one of the things you could take throughout this week and actually put into practice. And even think of people in your life who you could begin to be proactive with, of sending them a note, of going out of your way, of showing some type of love to them, because you're driven by thinking about how you want people to treat you, because God has treated us that way. God bless.